Thanks for joining us. We are here with Kavitta Ghai from Nectar. She is the amazing founder and CEO of Nectar IO. Oh, and I love what's the you say community in every class.
Yep.
I love that when I saw that community in every class because it's about building community and using technology as we were just talking about before we started recording to build up community, build up a collective intelligence as opposed to replace anything. So I really love the perspective that you have with the use of AI technology. So I just want to, at this moment, just kind of hand it over to you so we could hear a little bit about yourself and even some of the origin story for Nectar IO, because it's really cool how you all came up with it.
Thank you, George. That was an awesome intro. And yeah, I think the best place to start is always, why am I here? Why am I building this? What's the whole point? And for me, this journey started 6 years ago when I was an undergrad student at UC Santa Barbara. And for me, I am autistic and I have ADHD. So before I came to college, every single classroom that I was in felt uncomfortable for me and my brain to be in. And then I got to college and I started paying $40,000 to be really uncomfortable. And that's when it became enough of a pain point that I said, okay, I'm either going to drop out or I've got to do something about it. And I had no idea what that something was. It was not like I knew from the start that this is what I wanted to do with my life. But I knew that being first generation, my parents quite literally came to this country for me to have this education. So dropping out was not an option.
That was not an option. Got
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So stuck it out and got very lucky. And I think, like most of us, there's always that one teacher that you have that changes your life in some way. And that one
Yes.
class that after everything is different. And for me, that class happened the summer between my sophomore and junior year. It was Theories of Communication, COM 89, I still remember. And it was taught by a grad student instructor. And so it was really different than any other class that I had taken because it was taught from the perspective of what he would have wanted to have seen in his undergrad classes. And so the course design was really built around the student experience. And so we walk in on the first day of class and he sits us down. And before he says a word, he turns around and he writes the link to a Slack workspace on the board. And he turns back to us and he says, we're going to do this class a little differently. And I'm going to need you to trust me. He said, I don't want you to raise
Man.
your hand in class because I know you're not going to. He said, I don't want you to send me or the TA a single email. I don't even want you to come into office hours. He said, if you have any questions, any issues, whether it's in the middle of lecture or it's 3 in the morning before the midterm, your first line of action is going to be to put your question in the Slack chat because I guarantee that one of the 149 people around you will have a better and faster answer for you than me or the TA will. And he said, on top of that, if you answer someone's question really well, I'll give you extra credit for it because that lets me know that you understand the material so well, you can then turn around and teach it to the person next to you, which is actually the highest level of mastery that you can achieve. And he said, even beyond that, this is my only instant feedback loop into your brain. I have no way of knowing if this class is even working for you or not unless you actually are talking about it authentically in front of me, not
Wow.
to me. And he recognized that he was not going to get something out of us by asking us directly, did you understand that? Or do you like the way that I lecture? It was going to have to be in this authentic community that unfolded naturally that he was able to observe and then pick out what he knew was working and not based on the conversation that we were having. And instantly, when he told us how he even planned on using this space, you felt the energy in the room shift. And it
Just
was like everyone was excited about learning again. And I think about it now, and it was as if he had used this space, this synchronous chat, as a Trojan horse. Essentially, he found the one part of school that was really interesting for us that we would all love, which is making friends and having a community and building your network. And he brought that into the learning space and sort of put it at the center of the experience. Because the only way to participate in your classroom community is to know enough about the material that you can participate and you can play a role
right.
and you can answer someone else's question. You can be helpful and useful. And everybody wants to feel that way. And it was exactly that sort of social camaraderie that got this community going. And it turned into this space that we just took over. It was incredible. We were sending messages all through the day, on the weekends. People were going for beers after class to keep studying. And unsurprisingly, I got the highest grade that I got out of any of my classes in college. And I left that class with more friends than I had ever made in class before. And I finally felt like there was a classroom that was accessible from my brain and everybody else's. It didn't feel like I had to make everyone else accommodate for me or vice versa. It felt like everybody could approach learning in the way that was most comfortable to them. And it was a game changer. It made people actually want to authentically participate in the learning experience. And that to be able to watch other people do that around you is actually what motivates you to do it yourself more than anything else.
Right.
And so I, like I said, left that class with the highest grade that I got in college. And I was like a dog with a bone. I was like, that was it. I found the thing, put
That's the
Slack in all of
thing.
my classes, and it solves all of our problems. And so I approached UCSB and I said, somebody explain to me, if me and 26,000 other people are paying you $40,000 a year, why can't you put Slack in all of our classes? Because that just worked really well. And that was my first time understanding why the education system is the way it is. I think as students, we think this is so outdated. It's so easy to update all of this. There's so much technology in every other part of our lives. But what we don't realize is that behind the scenes, people like you all are working incredibly hard day and night to make this whole system function. And it's
Right.
incredibly hard to find tools and companies that you can work with who understand the time constraints, the budget constraints, can help you onboard an entire campus, can help you measure the efficacy of those tools. That process of getting 26,000 people onboarded onto a new tool and to do an entirely new behavior is daunting for anybody. And so I got sent to the instructional design department. And that was my first time ever even hearing those words. And kindly enough, this wonderful woman, Mindy Collin, we still work with her today. She's one of our advisors. She was an instructional technologist at UCSB, and she sat us down and essentially walked us through the logistical nightmare of putting a separate Slack workspace in 1,500 classes every quarter. She said, it sounds good in theory, but in execution, this will never work because the price, the onboarding, everything that I just said
Right.
doesn't work
Right.
for schools. And I think you could see a literal light bulb appear above my head in that moment because I said, okay, then we'll go build Slack for schools.
That's an
And
opportunity.
exactly.
Ding, ding.
And for the next year, my co founder and I sat in her office and asked her, what stops you from adopting tools like this? And if you had a magic wand, what would you build that you actually could buy, that you could scale across the campus, that would actually work for everyone? And we built exactly what she told us to. And we tested it with
Wow.
as many professors and students and staff and admin as we could at UCSB. And a year later, we got all 26,000 people at UCSB using Nectar in almost every single one of their classes, with the instructors being the champion of the tool. And we got UCSB to pay us a bunch of money for it. So we earned our tuition back, which was awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was a great feeling. So
So
that was around the time that we graduated, and we went on to raise a little over $2 million to continue building out Nectar, put it in hundreds of universities for thousands of people to benefit from having a community in every class. And now we are raising our second round of funding to launch Nectar AI, which is our newest tool in the suite. And it essentially allows teachers to create their own AI assistants for their classroom and embed them directly into the LMS. So you can create a tutor, a teaching assistant, a thought partner, a debate partner, a negotiation bot, a historical figure, anything that you can think of based on the latest LLMs using your class's specific data. And the best part is it's all FERPA and COPPA compliant. So you're not sharing any of your proprietary information back with OpenAI. It is staying completely private. And that is the exact reason why we build these technologies, is to take the technologies from enterprise that we know work out there and make them functional for the classroom.
that's amazing. So let me unpack a little bit real quick because you made my learning nerd alarm go off in a good way. So you said when you first started with so Nectar Slack for education, really, okay, so I can't say that without, okay, so that's okay to say, okay.
Yeah.
And then you brought up it really when the initial instructor used it, the master's, the grad student instructor used it. He used the method that Richard Feynman came up with, a historic physicist, about teach somebody. And
Hmm.
that's how you know if you know the content. That was
Exactly.
kind of amazing. And then the biggest piece you brought up, I didn't know that you were diagnosed with autism and ADD. So that's pretty
Hmm.
amazing because we're big into equity as far as people having access that's helpful,
Right.
because
Exactly.
just having access doesn't mean it's helpful, right? You
Totally.
know, if you give me a written textbook of 10,000 pages, that's not equity for me. I don't want
Yeah.
to do it.
Me too.
Others it is, right?
Right.
Other-
Exactly.
so that's pretty amazing, just that origin story, how it started. So how do you
Thank you.
think that the bots that you're building, so the community piece speaks to making learning fun,
Hmm.
right? And who decided learning shouldn't be fun? Somebody decided that many years before us, but somebody made that decision. I'm still frustrated at that person.
Yep.
Uh, and then how is are the new bots that you're creating helping from that perspective of equity, making learning fun? And we have Brant Himes here who's been able to test some of the bots out. And I know he's going to have some things to say about that too, because it's been a pretty amazing experience. So how does all that factor in, I guess?
Yeah,
That's probably a long
absolutely.
question. Sorry.
No, no, totally fine. It's a great question. First, a little bit of background on Nectar AI and where it is right now. So we have been building it with a couple amazing campuses, LAPU, Stanford GSB, and Boston Questrom School of Business for the last few months now. We're in private beta. We are having them test it, break it, see what they love and what they hate about it before we release it to the public. And that's really important to us to truly build what people actually need and not just what's shiny right now. And so
Okay.
for LAPU, you guys have been really incredible, giving us so much feedback on how we can improve this product. Because really, the origin of Nectar AI is seeing that one, we have a deficit of 300,000 teachers in the US right now, and that number just keeps growing. And rather than trying to fill those positions, what we really should be focusing on is using AI in a thoughtful way that helps teachers 10x what they're able to do without having to spend more time, without having to be stressed out. And if we can make the job of a teacher easier and allow them to be even more efficient at what they're able to deliver for their students, why not? And that's exactly what AI can do right now. We don't have to wait 5 years for it to become amazing. It can do everything that teachers need to support them in their role, not replace it, but to essentially give them the ability to create assistants wherever they need them for grading, for course design, for tutoring or giving one-on-one support to their students. All of these things that before would have taken hours and hours for an instructor to do for every student in their class, they now can set up AI to do it on their behalf using their specific course information. So it's not just whatever is on the
Right.
web or whatever chat GPT is using. You upload your documents, your syllabus, your lecture notes, whatever you want to about your class. And then you can actually tell the AI exactly how you want it to behave with your students. So you can say, I want you to first ask them what is their learning level and quiz them before you even start tutoring them on this topic. So you know exactly where they need to grow from. And but being able to do that, being able to have that level of customization of the kind of support that you want to give to your students and to make that technology accessible to instructors, that is, especially from the user interviews we've done over the last year, the best way that we can create immediate utility for instructors using the AI that is available on the market right now.
That's amazing. And the reason why I say that's amazing, because that's one of the pieces where people get a little worried. Oh, AI is going to replace. No,
Right.
no, it's about making us better. So it's about bringing the machine into the loop, not excluding the person, but bringing the machine in to elevate everybody. not just,
Exactly.
yeah, not to replace. It's here to elevate all of us. And that's what I think your tool nails it. The
Thank
way
you.
we've been doing it. Can I ask, Brad, can I ask you to say something
Yeah,
about how it's been
yeah.
going with you so far in your class?
Yeah, I'd love
Yes,
to
so I'm
hear.
about 4 weeks in to piloting. We named him Lucas, so I'm doing a class on Luke and Acts in the Bible, and we call him Lucas the TA. And yeah, I've been very impressed with how it's been working. Particularly kind of like what you were talking about, how he was trained to ask questions and to kind of gauge the student knowledge. The follow-up questions that the bot gives really help deepen the learning. I also really like how the bot sounds like we trained it on course material that we had written. So
Mhm.
kind of and then so when we were testing it and asking questions, and then when students are interacting with it, it's really comforting that the answers it gives sound like the course. You
Right.
know, there it's not pulling. I mean, there'll be things that get pulled out from the internet. Today, someone asked me a question on the Dead Sea Scrolls, which we don't talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls in the course, but he emailed me and he was asking about it, and I gave him a response, and I said, "Hey, why don't you ask Lucas, you know, and see what you get?" And he emailed me back and he was like, "Wow, that was really great. That was a really good learning experience."
That's
So
awesome.
it's been fun and it's been interesting. As the professor, I've been trying to experiment with my grading feedback
Mm.
and asking it to, yeah, to give feedback on some discussions and on some
Mhm.
papers. And we were talking about, I think before we started recording, but the skill of prompting, you
Right.
know, and
Mm.
and realizing as a professor, you know, I'm learning that first I have to tell it, I'm the professor for the class. Can you help
Mhm.
me with offering feedback? Sure, I'd love to help. Da, 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 da. This is, you know, and I tell them the assignment. Okay, this is what I understand the assignment to be. This is what I think we should grade them on. How does that sound? Okay, that
Mm.
sounds good. And we'll go back and forth, and I'll kind of refine what I want it to do, and then I'll start giving it papers, and I'll start giving me feedback. The thing I would love to see, and the feedback's great, and I go in and I might tweak some things or change some things. Then I've been telling students like, hey, I'm piloting this, like, let me
Mhm.
know what you think. I'd love to see that integrated more into the LMS
Mhm.
so
Oh,
that I can open up my
mm,
grading and there's stuff there, maybe
Mm.
already, instead of right
Mhm.
now, it's a bit cumbersome to kind of, you
Upload
know,
everything.
yeah, copy paste or upload.
Totally.
Um, and then I imagine there's still, I know we're in this beta phase. Because every so often I have to kind of start over and
Mm.
remind it like, okay, you know, I have to kind of exit out and come back in because it might get stuck or
Right.
something. So just, you know, some of those,
and that,
but the potential that I see to help the time for
Mhm.
me and the depth of the feedback, because I grade a lot, right? I mean, this is one of the things that I have to do.
Right.
Um, and can become rote and it can become hard and you know, it's a little boring sometimes. So to have a resource that can really help provide kind of fresh feedback. And, you know, one thing I loved when I was given feedback, and I would ask it to make sure it offered some constructive things that could work on,
Mm.
students could work on. And so even if it was a great paper, the bot always found something that, you know, in the future, consider doing
Mm.
this better. And so I really liked the
right.
back and forth. It felt like a partner, like I think we were talking about earlier, George. Like it's not going to replace what I'm doing,
Mhm.
um, at least now,
It's
but
gonna make you better though,
it can make it
right?
better. And the fact that I
Yeah.
can refine it to give the kind of feedback that I'm looking for just makes
Mhm.
that feedback better for the students. So that's a little bit of my experience so far.
That is
That's
awesome to hear. Thank you. And that is exactly why we love building products with folks like you before we release it. I think that is one of the things that really makes a wonderful ed tech product is you can tell that the people that you're selling it to are the ones who actually decided what was being built into it
Yeah.
because it has to be usable, right? You have to authentically find value out of it. And so to be able to hear things like this of you know what would make this experience really great for me is to be able to have my grade book right in there. So I could just pull things in, drag and drop in, say that's the one I want to look at, and maybe even compare them to all the rest of it and have it upload the feedback itself. Little things like that that just let us know here's where the roadmap is going to be. So as you're using this tool, what should happen with any good ed tech product is that you're seeing those improvements happen in a timely manner. So 6 months from now, it's even better than the experience you're having now. And it's with the feedback that you've given that company. So it's one of my favorite parts of how we build tools, and the fact that we get to meet folks like you who get to tell us exactly how you're teaching these classes and what you need right now, and then to be able to deliver that to you. It's really fulfilling.
So then, since we're doing that, can we have a meme of me every time somebody goes to the grade book with Nectar of my head kind of coming into the side of the LMS saying, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Absolutely.
Sorry,
We'll add that GIF in there. Oh, that's
sorry. I couldn't, So, what were you going to actually share the bot? Did you have some more to let us know about Kavitta? Or were you going to share a little bit, kind
Yeah.
of show us what lead the way?
Absolutely. I think that it is time for a good little sneak peek. So, like I said, we are still in private beta for about another month. So, around mid April is when we are planning on launching it to the world. And so, stay tuned for that. It will be a very different experience than what you're seeing now, because I can't exactly show you the end product at the moment, but I can show you what we have for our private beta folks. And so this is Nectar AI. It is meant to be incredibly intuitive and simple. We want it to take out absolutely anything from the sidebar and the top that might be confusing. So it is just what you need to be able to create these AI assistants and then share them right into the LMS. And that is the part that we're really excited about, is to be able to embed them in a weekly assignment or on the front page if you want one that is sort of the know-all TA for the class. So there's a lot of options with how to use this. So right now what we're looking at is the Hogwarts school workspace. And you can see right here, to create a bot, all I have to do is come into this settings page. I'll name it whatever I want. So this one is a tutor for my class. And then I'll down here in the persona be able to tell the AI exactly how I want it to behave. And so you can see I've let it know I want you to be an upbeat, encouraging tutor who helps students understand concepts by explaining ideas and asking questions. So you want to actually tell the AI exactly how you want it to behave, down to where it starts, introducing itself. Only ask one question at a time. First, ask what they want to learn about, and then wait for the response. And so, quite literally, everything that you tell the AI to do is exactly how it will behave. And so, exactly like Brant was saying, you can really make it sound like your class. And the best way to do that is in this training data page right here. You'll see that I've uploaded the assignment, the syllabus, a lecture. And so you can upload anything about your class to really train the AI on what is your specific class material about and what is the range of topics that you want it to be able to answer for the students in your class. And so you can see all you have to do is drag and drop any of these types of files. And we're working on a lot more. So hopefully soon you should be able to just be able to put a URL and it'll upload everything from that site page onto it. So make it even easier. And then back here on the settings page, you're going to be able to choose whether you want it to have document only knowledge. So that is just pulling from the training data that you've uploaded, or it can have limited knowledge, which means that it's taking the topics from everything that you've uploaded and pulling the most relevant information that GPT-4 or ChatGPT has. And then general knowledge is everything that GPT-4 has, plus your documents. And of course, this is all using the persona that you've set. And so you really can essentially create your own custom ChatGPT. It keeps your data fully private, FERPA and COPPA compliant. So it is not sharing it back with OpenAI or with Nectar at all. And then you can create these bots to put them in your LMS for your students to interact with, or like Brant was saying, even you can interact with them. So what you'll do is once you have saved your bot, you're going to go ahead and come over here to the chat. And this is where you'll test out to make sure that you like the way that your bot is talking, you are asking the right questions, and it's answering in the right way. And then once you like it, this screen right here, just this chat box, is what will be embedded into your LMS. So your students won't see the settings or the training data. They will just be chatting one-on-one with the bot. So we'll say, hi, who are you? And let it start chatting back with us. And there you go. And I'd like to learn about Python loops. And then we'll see. There you go. So like I said, I wanted to ask me about my learning level first. So we'll say, I'm a college student and I know absolutely nothing about Python loops. And that is true. I don't know anything about it. That is all my co-founder. He is the CTO, not me. So there we go. So we wait for a little bit. It's like having a real conversation with someone, which is awesome. And so it'll actually be able to show me code inside of here too. And so this is great for CS classes. You want to really actually be able to show students in the way that they're learning. And so like you see right here is how it's going to be delivered to you. And what I think is really interesting is seeing during our private beta the range of ways that schools have found to use this product. So it started with, people building tutors and teaching assistants and sort of the simple stuff. And then it got into people building negotiation bots for MBA courses so that students could simulate negotiating a salary with their boss. And that's really cool. And you could create different bots that were different levels of difficulty so students could really see what is it like if my boss is going to be really tough to have that conversation with. And we had some schools that created a thought partner for starting essays. And so the whole point of that bot was when students get into that writing block, when they're about to start their essay, they start with the bot and they have a conversation, and together they figure out what they're going to write about, what that intro is going to look like. And that is how the teacher is allowing them to start their essays using AI. And I think it's a really great way to make sure that your students are going to use AI with or without you, but you want to actually make sure that it's giving them the right information, that it's the correct material from your class, and that you also have a chat history so you can see exactly how that student is interacting with AI. That's the really cool part here is you'll be able to see all of the conversations that your students are having with the AI bots. So you can actually start learning from your student interactions, and they'll be able to go back and see their chat history too and download or export any of those conversations if they want to save it or even upload it as a participation points
Oh,
or
wow.
for an entire assignment. So we've had a lot of really cool examples of teachers creating these bots, and the conversation is the actual assignment.
That's brilliant.
Thank you.
And that really speaks to it because some universities is kind of like taboo. It's kind of feels, am I cheating if I'm using AI kind of thing? Students might feel. So that's taking all that unfamiliarity away and teaching them how to use it ethically, which is super cool. Hmm. So how do you
Oh, there we go. We're back.
or did I lose everybody?
Yeah, sorry, that was frozen for a second.
I was just saying it's very cool because when we take away that the myth from the tool and treat it as a tool and show people how to use it ethically, then they just all of a sudden have almost like a superpower. Since we're talking about Hogwarts, they have some pretty powerful magic, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Uh, so you have the tutors and you were talking about community as well.
Mm-hmm.
What other ways have you seen the tutors kind of being used?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, one of my favorite ways of sort of getting creative with this is actually to come see some of the open source prompt libraries that they have for education bots. And so, this is a great one. It's really, really popular. I'm sure you've seen it on LinkedIn or Reddit. And
Mhm.
basically, it is a prompt library where you can come and see, based on students, staff, educators, admin, what are the different types of bots that you can create to help you. So even if we come over here to admin, you can see even things like a meeting summary. But I love coming to these ones like the devil's advocate. I think this is a
Oh,
really cool one to do a different sort of thought partner where the whole job of the bot is actually to poke and prod and get the student to think on a deeper level, but in a little bit of a different way. And
right,
so
right.
for the student, it's really interesting. It's engaging to have this kind of conversation. and it's akin to a tutor, but it's really asking the student to do the deeper learning by trying to come up with a response to whatever the bot is saying.
That's pretty interesting. So that's really like a person at work. I had that, I won't mention any names, but this was years ago. We would invite that person to meetings when we were first coming up with ideas because they were the devil's advocate. Nothing would work, and they would
Mm-hmm.
figure out why it wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So we found that so important because now we knew why it wouldn't work, so we could fix it before we even before we even started experimenting with it. That's
Exactly.
super cool.
Yep. It is awesome to see.
Wow. Um, and then so we have the devil's advocate. What's another one? The peer teaching. Can you do something almost like you can almost do any active learning strategy through this think, pair, share, all that stuff, huh?
Exactly. And I think that is what has been the most I think surprising part of the private beta was to see how much we didn't even realize this tool could do that the educators were coming up with as they were creating the bots. We actually have one course now that is getting started. It's the first class that is going to be launching Nectar AI in a couple weeks officially. And they are having the entire class be taught by 8 different AI bots. And so they're creating a professor bot. And so it'll actually have the avatar of the professor and the textbook and everything that he has written. And so it's like the students can actually talk to the professor anytime they want to about any of his research or writings. And then there'll be 8 bots that are for each of the weekly assignments. So one is a debate partner for their case studies, another one is a thought partner to get them to write their own case study. So, going to be really interesting to see sort of an autonomous class and how the students respond if the AI is primarily what they're interacting with. I think that has been the most interesting use case that we've seen so far.
I would love to hear how that turns out because that
Yeah.
sounds kind of amazing,
Yeah,
actually.
that is going to be definitely the coolest case study that we'll do in a while.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So really, so the avatar bot, is it actually is it actually text, voice to text to voice kind of thing where it's an actual avatar talking that they've
Definitely on the
overlaid?
roadmap at some point where we'll have an ability for this to chat actually with you and you to chat back with it. Something that
Wow.
we've been hearing a lot in our feedback meetings is what if I could actually have a conversation? And it's
Wow.
definitely something that's on the roadmap. So we're excited for that day where you're just talking to these bots out loud.
That would be crazy.
Hmm.
Vanya, you had a question? You want why don't you just ask Kavita directly?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that I could do that.
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
Vanya.
Thank you. Well, I saw on the site when you were showing the different types of bots, I
Hmm.
saw the team reflection coach.
Yeah.
And I was wondering because I do team coaching for a living,
Mm,
and I always thought, what about if we have something like Siri or Alexa that we can put in a meeting and then can give us a very good feedback on how we all behave or what
totally.
did we say or how can we change it to make it better,
Hmm.
just ask questions. So that would be something that I'm curious to learn. What did you guys create here?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can quite literally copy paste this prompt and then you'll create a bot down here and we can say that this is for team feedback. And then I'm going to come right into this prompt and I'll just paste that prompt right in here and save it. And there you go. You now have a bot that you can come into the chat and upload anything about your team meeting, maybe the notes that your AI took from the Zoom meeting, and say, what is the feedback that you have from us? What can we start working on? What are the potential downfalls? And even to be able to give this individual bot to everybody on the team and have each of them go through that process and have this conversation that is probably the most unbiased that you could possibly have, right? It's sort of
Mhm.
everybody has their person that they can talk about anything with and brainstorm these ideas and then come back to the table and say, here's the best piece of feedback that I was able to pull from this bot. And even that is a really cool way of, coming back together as a team and saying, what was that one thing that each person found that they wouldn't have been able to come up with on their own?
Wow. It was that quick.
Yep, exactly.
Wow. What do you think, Vanya? What do you think about that?
I don't
Kinda-
know what to say, honestly. I mean, besides that, there's so many ideas that they come into my mind, like what we can do with
Mhm.
such a tool like that, and where we can utilize it for the best
Mhm.
input. I am. I also consider of how can we just have a basic coaching bot and we just compare and see, does this bot really makes any difference in a level
Mhm.
that a human does,
Exactly.
as an experiment. It
That'd
doesn't
be a
have to
great
be something
experiment.
very complicated, but at least we can have have evidence. There are some research in UK, but it was much more complex. I think something like that would be very practical and see,
Mhm.
does it make any difference
Mhm.
in over if we work with that over time.
And one
Exactly.
thing that we have found out about people working with bots is that they tend to open up quicker.
Exactly.
And it's because even if let's say I'm the professor of a class, I'm not a judgmental person, but somebody coming into class doesn't know me and,
Mhm.
and they don't want to be judged by the prof.
Right.
So they're a little more comfortable going to the bot, right?
Mhm.
So until we establish those relationships, they might feel that I'm judging them when I'm not, just because that's the way we grow up in judgment. So it's pretty neat how we interact with these machines. It really is.
Yeah, George, I just was thinking about the potential for all sorts of different learning activities. I didn't realize how customizable these bots could be. And I'm just thinking about the process we go through when we're designing courses, and just, we already do a lot of learning, diverse learning activities, but this just kind of explodes the possibilities that to really customize things in a way that's really relevant for
Yeah,
students. It's pretty exciting.
it is exciting.
Absolutely. And I think what is going to be really cool to see is when you start to see the results of the bot and then in real time go and change even the specific one. Maybe not ask one question at a time, maybe ask two. So to be able to go in and refine even just down to a sentence and change the instructions to keep tweaking it to get better and better over time, it's quite literally the best way to create the perfect assistant. And it can really never talk back to you. It'll always do exactly what you want, which is the best part.
Oh, let's make it husband out of that.
Yes.
Kidding.
So if you do
Exactly.
that, Vanya, let us know how it turns out.
I don't know.
They probably do have it somewhere, something
bet.
like that. I was sure. There's so much that we don't know. But Kavitta, I was wondering, how can you feed the bot with specific information that you want them to utilize, or they're open to, from where they get all the data? Maybe you mentioned it and I didn't hear that.
Yeah, good
Uh,
question. So, if you're using document only knowledge, that means that it is only going to be pulling from information that you upload. So, let's say that here I want to take all of these, I'm going to drag and drop some files, and you'll see that's all I have to do is drag and drop any of my lectures, assignments, syllabus, meeting notes, anything that I want the bot to know about. And whether I select document only knowledge all the way to general knowledge, it's still going to use this data as its sort of primary data set. So when you're thinking about LLMs, what we're using here is RAG, which essentially means that it's retrieving the information from the documents that you've uploaded before it uses the LLM information itself. And then when you go all the way to general knowledge, it's essentially using everything that ChatGPT or GPT-4 specifically has access to, plus the data that you've uploaded on top of it. And so it's essentially like you're giving context to ChatGPT and saying, take all of the information you have and you're going to funnel it in this general direction, the way that I want you to think about or talk about.
That's pretty
I'm just
amazing.
sorry. That's really amazing. It's just making me excited so much. And you said this is the MVP, or is already in the market? Like how people can use it?
Yeah. So
This product.
our official launch is on April 17th, so we're just a few weeks away. And we'll be selecting somewhere around 20 to 25 schools this year over the next couple months to be the first customers. So we want to make sure that everyone has a really incredible experience. So we will be limiting it. We'll have a wait list. And as we have more space available, we'll let more schools onto it. So we have no one on that wait list yet. It'll open up on April 17th. So it'll be on our website, on our LinkedIn, and that's where you can go sign up for either your course, your program, your department, whatever size you want to use. You'll fill out the form and we'll do a demo and reach out to you and get you set up with your own workspace. And it will look very similar to this, except just better. So in the next couple of weeks, we have a lot of really cool new features coming out. One is going to be that LMS integration. Another is going to be that chat history. So you'll be able to see all of the previous conversations that you've had and all of the members in your org, the conversations that they've had with the bots. So a few more things that we'll have by the 17th. So just a little bit longer and we're almost there, and then everyone can get it.
You all are working hard right now.
And
Yeah, it
not
has been a
only to
crazy
school.
time.
It's only for schools. It's not for individual contributors and teachers, or like
No, we
any
actually are starting
leadership
this.
programs.
Yeah, no, we are
Anything like
starting
that.
this across the board. So you can do it at a course level. We actually have a few non-education entities that are using it as well. And so testing out some different
Wow.
use cases. Yeah, we have found a lot of people find really deep use in this because it's so intuitive to be able to create these bots and stick them wherever you want, even on the website, and have that single sign on so you know it's just your folks that are using your bots. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the market evolves around tools like this. But obviously, for us, first and foremost, our focus is on education. So I'm really, really excited to see. I think for the first time, we're getting to a place where every single student will have a personalized learning partner. And anytime they need help, they can get it judgment free. Exactly like what you're saying, George. I think one of the most critical parts, especially for me when I was in the classroom, is I was always scared to raise my hand and ask a stupid question. And it probably prevented me from doing a lot of learning. And here, for the first time, I actually get to ask as many questions as I want, and I don't feel that judgment. And when you're asking those questions and the AI is actually asking you questions back and prompting that learning, we are quite literally evolving the way that we teach and learn entirely forever. And that's incredibly
Mhm.
exciting.
It really is. So we are coming up on time. We're actually a minute over already. I'm sorry, Kavitta, keeping you here.
All
We're so
good.
interested in all that you're doing. And Justin is the CTO, right?
Jordan, yeah.
Jordan. Oh, sorry.
All
Let's edit
good.
that out. Jordan does it. He's amazing as well. I've got to meet with him.
Incredible.
The things that you all are doing and coming up with is amazing. Does anybody have any final questions for Kavitta before we wrap up?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
In your story you shared at the beginning about the communal aspect of the learning,
Mm-hmm.
is there, and so much of, we're talking about kind of personalized one-on-one interaction. Is there a future where this kind of tool is available kind of for the class as a whole to interact with at once, or
Yeah.
something like that, kind of that communal idea?
That is a great question. And that is actually the Nectar flagship product that we started with. So, this is our Slack for schools. This is what we initially raised money to build. This was what we were solving for ourselves. It was really putting this sort of synchronous community at the center of the classroom. So, it links in with the LMS. You'll see it sits right inside of your LMS, auto creates a channel for your class, auto adds your students into it. So no onboarding necessary. Every new time you register for a class, you'll be right added into your channels. And within this space, we have Soma, which is our AI teaching assistant. And this is actually what Nectar AI was inspired by. So this was the first version of AI that we built. We released this almost a year ago. And what we're about to do after the launch of Nectar AI is put that same capability of those custom bots into this chat space. And so you'll have this classroom
No.
community with the bots actually in it. And so everyone can see the
Awesome.
way that each other are interacting with it. And that's going to get really, really interesting.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's going to be cool.
it's going to be really cool. We're excited.
You got Brand excited.
Yeah.
I see the wheels turning. I see
Yeah.
the wheels just going, man.
Good, good. I'm glad. No, that has been the goal from the start, is keeping the human in the loop and really getting us to a point where in the future, and that future is already here, it's going to be humans and AI working together to be better than ever before. And we need to be putting that in the classroom as early as possible, because the earlier that students learn to utilize AI and make it their superpower, the better off all of us are. And I think that this is a really cool way to inspire others, because it's that protege effect. You really learn best when you show the people around you exactly what you just learned and reinforce your own learning, teach them something new. I think that is where the deepest level of learning really happens. And AI is just going to take that to a whole new level.
Yep. If you can teach others and explain it clearly, concisely, and simply, you nailed it. You got
Yep.
it. You do it
Exactly.
well.
I have a burning question. I
Yeah.
don't want to keep you. So if we're gonna finish, we're gonna finish. But I have one thing that just
Absolutely. We're all good on time, so don't worry.
Okay.
So they just forbid using AI in my daughter's school. And that happens across, right? It is not something. So what do you think about that? Like, from the ethical perspective, do you think it's okay from a very early age to utilize it? Or there is certain age that you can allow after that? Before that is like more like not cheating and using it without thinking. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I'm puzzled, and I was thinking that I have to go talk to the principal. My daughter is 12 years old.
Okay. That's a
Oh.
And
great
she's in a
question.
STEM only girls school. Is
Oh,
public
wow.
school in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, very good timing for the question. I actually just this week was at Design Tech High School in Redwood City, was invited to speak at their AI town hall. And so it was parents and students, K-12, and we were discussing with the faculty and the staff, what is the AI policy? What is the thing to be worried about, if anything? What are we excited about? What is the state of AI right now in education, and how do the parents need to respond to that? And what I was hearing from a lot of parents is very similar questions about, is this something that I should be worried about my student use or my child using? Or do I want it to be in the classroom because we know this is something they're going to eventually use? They should be having that digital literacy now. And I think the most important thing you can do is, with or without the teacher or the campus utilizing AI, you and I know AI is going to be in every part of our future very soon. And so I think parents the best thing they can do right now is educate your students on what AI is when they run into it inevitably on the internet or in different tools that they're already using or apps. What does it mean? What is it able to do? And what are the limits of it? Things like, it does hallucinate. It's not always correct. It's going to sound really correct, but sometimes it's not. I think it's very important for students to know that as early as possible. And so, really holding your child's hand and saying, here's what ChatGPT is. This is something really interesting that it can do. This is how it can help you. But also the repercussions of relying too heavily on AI, and letting them know that if you use this to answer all of your questions, then you're never going to learn that critical thinking. You're not going to learn how to solve those problems on your own. And that's a really important skill to have. So you have to use the AI responsibly. And I think the best way to teach children that is going to come directly from the parents.
That's a great point. And to kind of, can I
Thank you.
add on to that a little bit? Because we just finished a study, and what we found was, and this was with adults, so I'm not sure if it transfers to children or not, that caveat, but we noticed that when the AI is involved, it takes away a lot of minutia that the students have to go through in order to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So what it does is it reduces the cognitive load for the student, and they are then more able to focus on the important stuff rather
Wow.
than the detailed stuff. And they're able to take a deeper dive into the content, and
Mm.
they're able to use it as a better critical thinker and a better creative thinker. So as I like to say, they're able to solve complex issues with a creative and critical mind. So they're more
That's
able to
awesome.
solve complex issues. So it's kind of cool.
That is really cool to know that it actually is reducing that anxiety and stress to the point that they're absorbing the information better than they could have before. I think it's just another one of those proof points that AI is going to do more good than it is bad. And
Yeah.
it's going to be very similar to the internet, where it was really scary when it came out, but very quickly we realized this is going to take us to a whole new level and help us in ways that we could never have imagined before. And I think AI is going to be even better than that. It truly is going to improve so many different parts of our lives. And especially within education, we've been using this 400-year-old classroom model for 400 years too long. And it's time for us to finally use all the technology that we have to really deliver an incredible experience to every student, regardless of what kind of school they're going to or where it is in the world. If we have the ability to deliver that to them, they deserve it. And it's our responsibility to give that to them. And I think that that reality and that future is coming very soon. And it's going to impact all of our lives in a really positive way, to be able to know that these future generations are going to learn at a level that human beings have never before. And it's going to be incredible to see what they do with that.
That is, yes. And that's brilliant. I think that's a great way to close out. I've kept you way over. I'm sorry, Kavitta. It's just so interesting what we've been talking about so far. But yeah, because that speaks directly to equity by intentionally removing a tool. To me, that's akin to removing a calculator out of a trigonometry class. You just don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't expect, when I was working with Lockheed Martin, the Skunk Works, the engineers there would use computer systems to help them with the engineering.
Right.
They weren't sitting there with a slide rule and a pencil on a piece of paper. Just wasn't happening. You didn't build the Joint Strike Fighter with a crayon and some, large sticky papers on a wall. That's not the way it works. So
Right.
really it speaks to equity, and it speaks to preparing our students for working in the real world, which is
Absolutely.
kind of crazy.
Totally agree.
Yvonne, can I ask one more thing? Yvonne, did you have any input for Kavitta or anything before we check out for the evening?
Talking to me?
Yes, sorry.
All I was going to say was about the Bible bot. I had fun asking it questions. And sometimes I asked it way out questions just to see how it would react. I can't remember it right now, and it reacted well. That's all I can say.
Good.
That's
I'm glad.
amazing.
Oh, now I remember. I asked it, what role does AI play? What does God have to say about AI?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a deep one.
That is a great question.
Yeah. And it said something about how because AI is something that humans made, no matter how smart AI gets, God is smarter.
Oh.
God is allowing this creation. And
Wow.
AI
Amen.
it's all part of God's creation. All of it is part of God's creation. So God is still on top.
Great point. It's all
That was
part
what
of the
it
bigger
said.
picture.
It actually
There it
said
is.
that. I'm like, oh, okay, I couldn't blow it out of the water. I couldn't get it to say something so strange, which is what Brent was trying to do. He pretended to be an atheist.
But we tried to
Wow.
break it.
Yeah. And that's the
tried to
whole point
break
of
it.
private beta. No, I love it. It's exactly what to do. I love seeing those edge cases, and it's just going to get better and better over time. But it's always so cool to hear how this one piece of technology can work in so many different ways, just depending on how you set it up.
All right.
And anyway,
So-
the bot said that the purpose of everything is everyone should just take care of each other and love each other and take care of the earth. They said that's the purpose of that God put
Well,
earth, or what something like that. Sounded just like something Brent would say.
outstanding. Well, that speaks directly to giving everybody the access to the tools to make them better. That's part of how we help each other as human beings and show our love to one another as human beings. So Kavitta, we appreciate you coming in here and showing us this amazing tool. And
Absolutely.
don't tell Jordan that I called him Justin.
It'll be our
please.
secret.
Okay, that'll be our secret. You gotta tell me you can't listen to this.
I was going to say our secret with everyone that watches this recording.
That's right.
Recording is still on. You're not gonna-
Exactly.
Outstanding. I've done dumber things, so it won't embarrass me. So, would you like any last words, Kavitta, before we jump out of here?
No, I just really want to thank all of you for the feedback that you've given us as we've been building this tool, for sitting here with me today and giving me some of your time. It is impossible for us to be building this classroom of the future without folks exactly like you. You are who we are building it for. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. It's a truly fulfilling feeling to be on the bleeding edge of this technology and to see and hear exactly how it can help people like you. And the motivation of just having these conversations and being able to talk to you, it helps every single day to keep doing what we're doing. And it doesn't feel like work at all. So I feel very lucky for that. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I love that the bleeding edge, there's a leading edge and there's the bleeding edge. I love that you're fearless enough to be on that bleeding edge. So that's very cool.
Thank
So
you.
and our tagline at LAPU is, this is what learning feels like. So